All right, what is going on? First off, I want to say that I found this video through actually multiple people. I found this strategy through kind of, um, I was trying to figure out the best fish spot for XP in Norway, Skårland, Fjord, whatever. And I stumbled across a video that at the time I was fishing in the Maldives. The Maldives. And I thought that was the best spot to be fishing for XP. And then I was looking for the video for the new spot, and I ran across a video that said that the spot before that, Kaiji no Ri, was actually better for XP farm, which is kind of the last spot I was fishing for. I think it was swordfish and tuna. I think it was marlin and tuna, actually. It was marlin and tuna. And that was kind of like the suggested leveling place from, like, I don't know, 100 to 107. Pretty much, I figured it should be more like 108. Because at the new spot, I feel like the bait that you really want to be using is the blueies. And so I ended up fishing there until I was 108. And then I got my rod setups, which are these Karasutoha 511s with the Ragnarok 26,000 rods. The issue with this setup, there's kind of a couple things. The sinker I'm using, the hook I'm using, the lead I'm using, lead or whatever, and the, oh my goodness, torchlight I'm using are all Baitcoin buys. I know for sure, like everything except maybe the hook isn't really necessary. I'm sure that there's a hook that doesn't cost Baitcoins that you can use for this. I actually have on here trade for green lead and yellow torchlight. So the lead that was being used in the video was actually these ones, I believe. No, 3-3. I think it was the 4. Yeah, I think it was these ones. And I mean, they're level 110 unlocked, so, and with the pack that I got, 2 fish here with the new boat and stuff, I had basically the same thing, but it's just red and it costs Baitcoins. So I'm using those for now, which I am running out, because this spot is not for the weak. But I'm going to switch that to the 110 liter when I get that opened up. The torchlight, I'm actually the one that decided to use the Baitcoin torchlight. The torchlight that was used in the video were the yellow ones. The level 108 6.7 inch yellow torchlight. I'm pretty sure it was a 6.7 inch. Yeah, I think I am sure. But as far as the rods are concerned, I think it was a spinning rod. Yeah. The rod is a level 100 unlock. And the reel is a 107 unlock. But then you're basically using a line that's too strong for the pole, and you're basically just set up with a, let's see, was it fluoro? I think it was mono. You're basically just set up with a max drag setup, which I haven't really used since they changed out how the max drag setup works. And I think the level 108 line is actually what's being used. I don't think it's the level 110. At least I don't have anything written down about it. And then the number 7, the 17-aught golden hooks. I don't know if there's like what the next best hook would be for that. I was hoping that you could buy these for cash at a certain point, but it doesn't look like that's actually an option. And being that it's 27 bait coin for 5 of them, it doesn't really make me that happy. I want to try to find a substitute. Because, yeah, 25 bait coin. What happens is, or 27 bait coin, there's kind of a specific reel-in strategy as to how you're jerking the rod around when you're reeling in the fish, which I'll kind of go over. I definitely don't feel like I have mastered it by any means. But once in a while, it gets to the point where I have to just put the drag down to pretty much 0, put the pole down, and hope that the freaking fish, unsnags the line. Which, usually in that case, he ends up taking the lead, the hook, and the bait with him. Which is a little frustrating. Because I think I have one more of these leads. And then I've got to kind of try to use something else, which probably won't be that big of a deal. This is a really fast way to level, but it's not very cost efficient. It actually costs more money than you make to just repair reels constantly, because you're pretty much burning through a reel per fish. I'll get into that a little bit more as we go on. The sinker, I ended up just buying a bunch of these tungsten sinkers. It doesn't have to be the ones for bait coins. It can be just basically the heaviest one that you can buy. That works for the rod. And it's a 7 to 39 ounce casting weight. So, I mean, that's kind of... You don't really need a whole lot, but at the same time, I think, it just drops the line in the water faster, and you're pretty much bottom fishing. So yeah, I want to try to find a substitute for the hooks. The leader, the proper leader that I should be using is a level 110 unlock. I will be using that. I guess, did I even show that? That is not it. Oh, I think I did show that. Yeah, I think it's this last leader. The 4 foot 11 inch 0.065 diameter. That one costs cash. And then the torchlight doesn't have to be green, it can be whatever color. Yeah, I think that goes over that. Okay, so let's go ahead and go in here. This is one of those where once you get going, it's the fastest way of gaining XP I've ever seen or imagined. But it, like I said, it does come at a cost where it's costing more money to repair things than you're actually getting for the fish. But being right now, I'm just in the spot where I want to get to max level as fast as possible. You know, when a new area comes out or whatever, it's probably going to be the same thing. Like if I want to level up as fast as possible, this is probably the way to do it. Go ahead and put on the sunglasses so we get rid of all the glare. Get on the boat. Oh. Open up the map. So this is my marker here. 2281.58 and 7.04. It's not exactly the same spot as the guy in the video. So the video of the guy actually fishing in this spot, the way with this setup, is I don't even know how you pronounce his name, but it's CSABI10. You just look him up, and I think it's pretty much the first video that he has. We'll go ahead and fast travel over here. And then I've got a bunch of markers over here. I just like to pull forward just a little bit off of that marker buoy. And you keep the anchor down. That is also another thing I didn't really expect off of this setup, because usually you don't keep the anchor down when you're fishing for stuff like this. And then you just start casting your stuff in the water. I think generally you want to keep it off of max drag unless you're reeling the fish in, is kind of the concept here. So you get all your lines out. You just let it drop to the bottom. When it's done, you go ahead and just throw it in the rod stand. Okay, so I got a bunch of different markers here, a bunch of different explanations as to what's going on. One unique per peak. 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. peaks is mainly what you're fishing for, like time-wise. Early day descending peaks are okay. One reel per fish pretty much takes like 70% health, if not more, off the reel. There is some times where I think because I fully understand the retrieve aspect of it, like I'm still kind of working out exactly how I'm supposed to be doing it, I guess. I probably catch like 95% of the fish that I catch, or that I snag, or hook, whatever. But there is once in a while there will be a fish that eats the whole reel, and I have to just let it go. I guess honestly, it would probably be better if I just let it break the reel and either use a repair kit or just buy a new reel. I didn't realize that they made it now to where if your equipment breaks, you pretty much have to use a repair kit, which costs coins, or you just buy a new one. now knowing that the hooks cost bait coins, I think it's probably best just to let the reel break and buy a new reel, unless you want to use a repair kit. So yeah, I got stopped using when it's about to break. You know, if you're fighting the same fish, if the reel is under like 70, even 80%, I almost wouldn't even try using it. This pull back to fire extinguisher and then forward to right rod. That was kind of what I was first doing. I don't know how well that actually works. Anchored down, tried to just pull back jerk plus max drag equals fastest catch. Blueies with the golden hook. So I tried to give myself a little bit of an explanation as to what I'm trying to do here through the buoy markers, just in case, you know, I don't come back to this for a while. I can come here and be like, oh, I remember I was fishing for these, and then my markers kind of give me an idea of how I was doing it. These descending peaks at the start of a day is good to catch these guys on. If it's on the first day, I suggest going ahead and taking advantage of that and catching the unique on that first day. But then after that, you pretty much just want to be fast forwarding through the nights for the 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. peaks. I start at 3 a.m. and usually by like 3:15 a.m. I've caught a unique. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and then it's just fast forward to the next 3 to 5 a.m. peak after that. So, I think I probably already missed one. Trying to explain the marker buoy thing. I have noticed that sometimes there's a fish on the line and the rod doesn't actually start bending, or doesn't seem to be, but like here I can tell that there's one on the line just because the rod started kind of bending a little bit. So you can see I'm kind of jerking the rod back, pulling the rod back at the same time, and then letting up. As soon as I got this thing hooked, I put it on max drag, and I'm just kind of doing this back and forth motion to reel it in as fast as possible. This is probably a trophy. I don't think this is a unique, just based off of how fast I reeled it in. It was a unique. Okay. So yeah, 160 freaking thousand XP is pretty dang good as fast as I caught that. And then we fast forward to the night. 3 a.m. 69. I mean, like I said, I reeled that in pretty fast for that being a unique. I only got the reel down to 69%. That is not going to be the case every time. Most of the time, unless I just did that perfectly that time, like I usually burn 40% to 90% of the rod health. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch the reel out with a new one, just to be safe. And then throw it back in the water. So that'll be kind of how I do this is, you know, first day, descending peak, great. I'll go ahead and throw the rods in the water, catch that one. Fast forward to the 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. peaks, switch reels, catch this one, and then it'll just be a repeat process of going through the next 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. peak. until I've basically used every reel. So you catch, I think that I can have like 12 reels right now. It kind of depends on your equipment as to how many reels you can bring with you. But the more the better. I've actually got 7 of these rods as well set up for this. I probably could have gotten away with 4. It does eat up the pull quite a bit too, and I feel like, and this is all just part of the max drag setup. Your line is going to tell you that it's too. The game is going to tell you that your line is too much for the rod to handle, and you're just going to ignore that and set it up anyway, and that's kind of what gives you that max drag setup that it seems so popular to use. This probably isn't a trophy, just based on it's not even maxing out the bar. So yeah, this is a small guy. But this goes really fast. And then this whole pull back and push forward technique, it's like you pull back, you pull the reel and you spin your body back and then you spin your body forward. I don't feel like I've fully got I'm still working out the best way to do it. It looks like I'm doing a really good job with it right now, which is cool. But there's definitely I'm making it look easier than it is. I'll probably fish for a few of these, so you'll probably understand what I mean before I end this. I don't know. I might burn through all 12 reels. So because I'm still at 83% on the reel, I will go ahead and chance catching another one on this set. On this reel. Even though it may or may not be the best idea. But it's kind of like I said, because I was getting my reel down to like, I don't know, less than 10%. And then I would freak out and I'd be like, oh, I just can't catch this fish. I'm still 30 something feet out. There's no way I'm going to catch this fish by the time this reel breaks. And so I was taking the drag all the way down, setting the rod down so that the fish would just take out the line and hopefully unsnag itself. But it was actually taking the bait, the hook, and the leader with it. And I think that if you just let it break the reel, that you should be able to keep the hook, the leader, and all that. And I think that would actually be more cost effective, just because the hook itself uses bait coins. If you're trying to if you got the pack that comes with the boat and stuff like that, I think that you get the leaders that I'm using right now if you're not level 110. Which, yeah, those are bait coin leaders. I'm trying to save them as much as possible. It's something that, as far as the research I've done, it says that you keep the stuff. I haven't actually kind of kept track of it enough to know for sure. But it's probably something that I'm going to start trying. Because I think I have one more of these leaders. And I really need to get them to last through the rest of this level. wasn't too bad either. So you just make sure after you're done catching the fish, you're taking the drag off of max again. You really don't want the reel to be at max drag while there's a fish hooked onto it in the rod stand. It's kind of the main thing. And so we're just going to fast forward through these nights. It's going to cost 10 grand a night, which is also part of the not very cost effectiveness. Because I think after the first night, it's like 15, like night 15 or something like that before we get another one of those 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. peaks. After that, it's not that bad. But this stretch of days is really the worst as far as getting to another 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. peak. And I guess you could technically just back out after the first day. But I don't think that's very time effective. I think it'd probably take more time just to back out and reload the area than it would be to go through these first stretch of days. And then from there, it's like every couple days you get the 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. peak. When all is said and done, like, it does lose money, but it doesn't really lose that much money. I mean, you're probably losing a couple $100,000, maybe around $500,000, give or take, each time you do this with like the 12 reels. Just, you know, kind of offsetting the money you gain versus your repair cost and fast travel times through the days. But yeah, this back and forth kind of retrieve action that I'm doing right now is really what takes the most getting used to. And I'm making it look so easy right now. It is not this easy. It is not this easy. Maybe it is this easy and I'm just doing it perfectly for some reason. I know that usually I'm sitting here watching YouTube while I'm doing this. So I'm a little bit distracted usually, which might play into why sometimes the fish burn up so much of my reel. But just to be on the safe side, I kind of suggest if your reel is under 80%, just to go ahead and switch it out. Or you have a good chance of not being able to catch the fish. You play around with it a little bit more once you get really good at the retrieve action system that these fish kind of require. But this is definitely like a different way of catching fish than I'm used to. Like I said, I haven't really messed around with the max drag setup since they changed the way it works. Like a couple years ago, I think it has been at this point. Oh yeah, okay. So maybe that's just how it is and I just didn't really know it. Like this has been a technique since the way it works got changed and I just really haven't paid attention. I like it though. This is like catching fish this big on this kind of setup is ridiculously fast. And they will fight for a good half hour if you just reel it in normally. Like when not max drag, not using the technique that I'm doing. But yeah, the technique takes some getting used to. And I definitely suggest looking up that CS ABI 10 guy and seeing the way that he does the retrieve, because he's I've probably had a lot more practice on it than I have. I just started doing this, like, not even a week ago. But I wanted to try to make this video before I got max leveled. I feel like this is a convenient enough time to do it. Once in a while, when it's been slow, longer than I feel like is normal, I'll reel in my other rods just to see if there's still bait on it, and like this one did not have any bait. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case with some of these other ones. This one still had bait. Which one did I just put down? Yeah, some of these fish do fight a little bit more, even with the technique, which usually is the cause of me burning up more of my reel than I expect to. And I don't know if that's just because I'm still kind of getting used to the retrieve method, or if it's just pretty normal. But you can see this one, I'm actually a little bit concerned about being able to get this sucker. There it is. And of course I'm getting a little bit more XP in cash because I'm still got the premium account stuff from buying the packs when this area first came out. So that definitely helps. But still, either way, this is the fastest way I've seen to get XP by far, so even if it's not very cost effective, I would say it's still very much time efficient. So if you've got the extra cash to burn, like I've got 130 million right now. I think I had like 135 million around the time that I bought everything. Like I bought like 6,000 blueies. I bought, 20 lines, 7 rod setups with the reels. I mean, I spent like $40 million just on the setups and the bait. And then, I mean, I still had 130 million left, 135 million. I've used about, what have I used? I think I just dropped under 130. Yeah, I'm at 129. So I've used about 5 million on one level, just in like repair costs and fast travel costs, you know, not being able to keep up with the amount of fish I'm catching, basically. But it's worth it. I don't need to have 130 million. Even when I'm max level, there'll probably be a couple rods that I buy. Like some of the really expensive rods and reels are like, I don't know, 10, 20 million or something like that. But even at that, you know, the 130 million is going to cover, you know, 3 or 4 rod setups, no problem. And then I might try this a little bit more on a non-max drag setup where I am actually getting a little bit more money back than I'm spending on repair costs and stuff like that. Because, I mean, the main cost is just repairing your reel over and over and over again. And that's all from the max drag setup. I think the last rod you unlock is like the pulse wave or something like that. I'll probably see if I can try it again with that rod. I don't know if that rod actually takes normal baits or not. But whatever highest powerful rod uses normal baits, I'll probably come back and try this again without the max drag setup. But this is the max drag setup. Specifically, the way I'm doing it right now is the best XP per minute that you can get right now, as far as I know. I'd be highly surprised if there's a faster method right now, but... And I might make another video on these once I get to level 110 and I figure out a setup that's kind of slower paced, but you are actually gaining more money than you're spending on repairs. Which maybe I should have specified that in the title of the video. I might go back and do that once I upload this. That this is like the max drag setup way of doing it. I think I was reeling in this middle pole. I feel like I got one of these with no bait on it right now. Nope, we are all good. You start catching these so fast that if you have to wait 20 in-game minutes, you're like, what's going on right now? Why am I not catching anything? Yeah, this one's fighting pretty hard. Oh, that was close to breaking the reel. Yeah, it's nice. Usually you catch one of these in the first couple minutes. And then sometimes it takes almost an hour. Yeah, if it's not even maxing out the reel bar, then I'm usually not too worried about doing the special technique. to reel these guys in. It's basically just if they're maxing out the bar. Oh, I forgot to take this one off of max drag. If you get to it in time, it doesn't really matter that much, but it's like if you're reeling in a fish and then one bites the other line, it can be pretty bad for your reel. Let's see, I think this is the last reel I want to use in the inventory, and then I've got a couple of rods that I still have good reels on them I can use. I was really surprised that you do this with the anchor down. I'm kind of happy about it too, because you don't have to worry about repositioning all the time. You still reel them in the fastest I've ever seen reeling in a fish of this size. I want to grab that, yeah. Sometimes I'm afraid of grabbing the rod a little too soon off the stand. Yeah, well, this might be a trophy. It might be worth catching if it's a trophy, but generally speaking, if I already caught the unique, I don't really like to try to reel any more fish in for the night. Try to save the reel. It's mainly just to save the reel, really, because unique's just worth so much more than a trophy. Yeah, I mean, this was worth like 100,000 less XP, and now it's like I'm another reel out because of that. So it kind of wasn't worth it. If I was catching these a whole lot slower, I might feel a little different about it, but it's at 74% reel health, it almost makes me want to keep using it, but I mean, you saw how close I got on the one fish where it got down to like 8%. And I've tried like the early night peaks, like the 9-10 p.m. peaks, and they just don't seem to work near as well. My target? You mean like the location? I'm pretty much just fishing right over here, 2268, and pretty much 0. Yeah, I'm on PlayStation. My target's to get max level. But as far as location's concerned, I mean, you saw what it was. Yeah, these ones that don't max out the bar aren't that harmful for the reel. But they're not really worth a lot either. Alright, well, when I'm done with the video, maybe I'll take a look at my friend requests. I usually don't do any like fish together stuff, or like I usually am just playing by myself watching YouTube. So chances are, like, I'm happy for you to join the lobby and fish with me, but just don't expect a whole lot of communication, I guess is kind of where I'm going with that. You're welcome to message me if you have questions and stuff like that, though. On Fishing Planet, I think that you have to like um well, you got the search bar thing here that you can use. I think that there was like a recently played section, but I don't. They've changed this up since I really looked at it too much, so I don't really know for sure how to check the. I guess in the lobby, I think that you can. Yeah, in the lobby. Choose menu. Yeah, you can scroll through the lobby. Okay, so no, that's your friends. You can go through people in the lobby and you can add friend through there. Ooh, I forgot to take the drag down on that reel. don't know how many more reels I actually got. That might be it, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's it. Might have to try to catch me in the next lobby. Oh, there you go. Here, I'll go ahead and send you, and if I can remember how to freaking do it. Sometimes there we go. Oh. You already added me. Alright, well I gotta back out of this lobby. So you'll see, I probably gained like, I don't know, 1.3 million XP. I'd be surprised if I even got that for like 1.1 maybe. That was 1.3 million XP, a little under a million cash, but that's with the premium. And then it's going to cost a little over $1 million to repair everything. So I didn't really lose a whole lot of money, but I probably spent like 150,000 plus just on fast forwarding days. So it's definitely not cost efficient, but it is the fastest way to level up. And once again, this is kind of the setup. These leaders are expensive, so I would try to just use something that's at least, yeah, these leaders cost 8 coins. I think, was it 5? 650, yeah. So £287. What can I actually use right now? 260. I could probably get away with using the 260 pound. Yeah, I could probably get away with using the 260 pound leader instead of the 287. I think as long as it's stronger than your rod or your reel, but it's under your line, you're fine. So this is 291 line. $291 line, and what are these? Yeah, these are 287. So I mean, I guess the goal is to get your leader test pounds as close to your line strength as possible, without going over your line weight. The main thing is just keeping both over your reel, whatever your reel and rod max out at. So the reel maxes out at 284, the rod maxes out at 231. And that's all just for the max drag setup. Like I said, once I'm done with all this, I'm probably going to see if I can just... Once I get to level 110, I'm probably going to see if I could just use one of these pulse waves. Which it looks like you probably don't use bait with these. You probably use lures and stuff. Which is that... It can't be the case for everything. I still have a hard time telling what you use normal baits with and what you use actual baits with. Um, what you use normal baits with and what you use like lures and stuff with. So like I said, once I get a good setup for that, where I'm not using a max drag setup, I'll probably make another video. Just like a more cost-effective way of doing this. But yeah, I mean, you know, you use your reels, you back out, you repair everything, you go back in and do it all over again. I'm expecting to be able to get this level done today. I mean, I've already made some decent progress. I've already doubled what I was at just in the one visit. Alright, but I think that's going to be about it for this video. I think I've pretty much shown everything I felt like I needed to, even if this is just something for me to come back to later. I think I'm pretty happy with this. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. Catch you on the next one. Peace out.